The First Nations peoples of Australia are among the few cultures that embody the idea of interconnectedness, which is at the center of spirituality around the world. They have a unique perspective on the meaning of life and creation because of their understanding of time, existence, and the natural world, which provides insights that challenge conventional ways of thinking. The concepts of Dreamtime and songlines are two of the many treasures of their culture. They are both examples of their unique worldview, which goes beyond the idea of time and memory as linear and is instead deeply rooted in the timeless essence of being. For many modern societies, time is viewed as a linear progression, moving from the past through the present and into the future. This framework has influenced our understanding of history, progress, and even the origins of the universe, including the Big Bang. However, the way that the First Nations peoples of Australia view time is completely different. The Dreamtime, which is known as Churinga and Alkaringa in some languages, is a cyclical and ontological understanding of time that is shared by more than 250 nations of First Peoples. Time is not a series of events that we move through. It is a state of awareness. Everything that exists has always existed, and nothing ever stops existing. What changes is the way that things are perceived by consciousness, whether it be in their gross visible form or as a subtle invisible essence. This perspective demonstrates a complex comprehension of existence that even calls into question contemporary understandings of reality. Within this framework, the past and the future are not separate or non-existent. They are simply different ways of expressing a continuous present. For example, when someone thinks of a peanut butter sandwich, it exists in the form of thought, which is subtle and invisible. When someone makes the sandwich, it takes on a gross, visible form. Once it has been eaten, it becomes subtle again and remains in memory. Nothing is lost, everything remains, but it simply changes how it appears. This understanding goes beyond the linear concepts of past, present, and future, implying that everything is always happening in the present. This viewpoint is in agreement with some contemporary philosophical and spiritual teachings. The notion that the past and future are illusions, and that only the present moment is real, has gained popularity in the last few decades due to books such as Be Here Now and The Power of Now. On the other hand, the First Nations understanding of time goes further than this, claiming that the past and future are real but exist in more subtle forms. There is no need to be in the now because it is impossible to exist outside of the present moment. Everything that exists is already here and is always appearing in some way. This perspective encourages us to stop trying to hold on to the present moment because there is nowhere else to be. Dreamtime stories are an important part of this understanding of time and existence. These stories describe how the world, its characteristics, and its inhabitants were created and continue to exist. Dreamtime stories are different from the linear creation myths of many cultures, such as the scientific Big Bang theory or the spiritual narratives of ancient civilizations, because they take place in a timeless realm. Creation is not something that happened in the past. It is an ongoing process that is always happening. The Dreamtime is not just a description of a far-off beginning. It is a reality that is always present, in which the land, its creatures, and its people are all intricately connected. Songlines, also known as dreaming tracks, are an important part of this framework. These invisible pathways weave through the expansive Australian landscape and sky, linking sacred sites and containing the knowledge of how the land was formed. Every songline contains stories, songs, and chants that provide information about the landscape, plants, animals, and ancestral narratives. As people walk across the land, they sing it into existence, confirming both its existence and their connection to it. This act is not just a symbol, it is very real because the land, the people, and the stories are all connected. The songlines are a spiritual practice and a living archive of knowledge that preserves history, culture, and ecological wisdom. The way that the Australian First Nations people relate to songlines is very similar to other memory systems that have existed throughout human history. For example, the method of loci, also known as the memory palace, was used in ancient Greece to store a large amount of information. Individuals could mentally walk through specific locations that they have associated with ideas or facts in order to remember information. In a similar way, the First Nations peoples used the landscape itself as a memory aid. Sacred sites and natural features served as anchors for knowledge, while the exaggerated and vivid narratives of the Dreamtime ensured that the stories were easy to remember. Contemporary memory specialists use comparable methods, such as exaggeration and vivid imagery, to help them remember information. For instance, one way to remember historical dates is to picture a giant figure riding on a huge number. This method is very similar to the memorable characters and events of Dreamtime, which are not only stories about the universe, but also practical tools for encoding and transmitting large amounts of ecological and cultural knowledge. Anthropologists believe that the knowledge an initiated First Nations elder has about the natural environment could be equivalent to the contents of the Oxford English Dictionary, and then some. These people were like walking encyclopedias, possessing a wealth of knowledge and a level of understanding of their surroundings that was unmatched. The Dreamtime's understanding of creation and time provides a different way to look at scientific theories, such as the Big Bang. The Big Bang Theory proposes that the universe had a starting point, but it also brings up the puzzling question of what existed before that. Western science often avoids this issue by claiming that time itself began with the Big Bang, which makes the question irrelevant. On the other hand, the First Nations' perspective on time provides a more meaningful solution. They do not consider the Big Bang to be a historical event. Instead, they view it as a process that is still happening. Creation is happening right now in every moment as nothing continuously transforms into something. This is similar to the Buddhist insight from the Heart Sutra, which states, "Form is emptiness and emptiness is form." It also corresponds with Nagarjuna's philosophy, which highlights the idea that nothingness and somethingness come into being at the same time. If you take this point of view, the question of what happened before the Big Bang is no longer relevant. When there is only the present moment, there is no such thing as before or after. From this perspective, reality is not a straight line, but rather a continuous cycle of transformation. This understanding changes the way we relate to time, space, and existence itself, encouraging us to connect more deeply with the present moment, not as a fleeting moment, but as the eternal ground of being. Dreamtime stories also connect spirituality and practical knowledge. They encode important information about the environment, which helps with survival and peaceful coexistence. For example, these narratives could describe the behavior of specific animals, the locations of water sources, or the seasonal cycles of plants. This combination of myth and utility shows a deep connection between the spiritual and material worlds, in which one informs and supports the other. The Dreamtime is more than just a spiritual idea. It is a way of life that is deeply rooted in the land and its rhythms. The loss of First Nations knowledge and culture is not only a tragedy for their communities, but it is also a significant loss for all of humanity. Their understanding of time, memory, and interconnectedness provides a viewpoint that contradicts the fragmented and reductionist perspective that is prevalent in modern society. As the global environmental crisis worsens, the First Peoples' wisdom, which emphasizes sustainability and respect for the natural world, becomes more and more important. The Dreamtime's insights into time and creation have a universal appeal across cultures and fields of study. These teachings encourage us to reconsider our beliefs about reality, whether we approach them from a spiritual, ecological, or philosophical perspective. They question the idea that existence is linear and divided into separate parts, and they present a perspective that emphasizes wholeness and continuity. When we acknowledge that everything exists in the present moment and that all things are connected, we develop a greater appreciation for the richness of life and the deep wisdom of the world's first peoples. The way that the First Nations peoples of Australia view time and existence can help us understand their culture, as well as the universal truths that are the foundation of all spiritual traditions. Their timeless wisdom invites us to reconnect with the essence of being, to honor the land and its stories, and to embrace the eternal now, where all things are one. When viewed this way, the Dreamtime and its stories are not just remnants of the past. They are living guides that can help us create a more connected and harmonious future.